City Matters.
Hello, and welcome back to HMTV. I'm Bernie Furshpan, host of Ordinary Heroes here at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a very, very special guest, a new friend that I have found who is a cohort and pretty much does the same thing in a parallel way in another center, educating young people about tolerance and justice, social justice. My guest today is Jill Santiago. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. We're going to have a conversation today that's going to speak on the shared values between the Suffolk County Community College, the Social Justice Center in the Huntington Library that you are the director of.
Yes.
I'm grateful that you carved out some time to be with us today. Tell us a little bit about your role at the Ammerman campus of Suffolk Community.
Sure. So my role, I serve as the director for the Center for Social Justice and Human Understanding at the college, which is a department of the college that oversees a collection of Holocaust artifacts that we have. Back in 2003, we received a very large donation of Holocaust artifacts from a private donor named Andrew Lippitt, who's an attorney in New Jersey and had collected all of these artifacts on his own for his own personal, to have his own personal collection. He eventually encountered a trustee of the college, and she encouraged him to consider donating the collection to us so that we could share it with students and with the community. So I am very lucky to be in the role that I am in to share this collection with students both at the college, where we typically see somewhere around probably about 800 students over the course of a semester who come in to visit us through college seminar classes and others, and then also high school groups that visit us over the course of the academic year.
Oh, very good.
So I get to oversee that. I get to run academic programs for students, and again, both internal and external. We're doing academic programs for our college community, but then we run a number of high school conferences over the years.
So you have students from the school and students from outside the school. So you're either contracted by some of the high schools or middle schools from Suffolk County. So let's unpack that just a little bit. And the full name of the center is Center for Social Justice and Human Understanding.
Yes.
I love that title. It's long, but
It's long, it's messy, but it is nice.
Ours is also long and messy. And people think it's just a Holocaust museum, but it's really a memorial museum and tolerance center. It's an educational facility.
Yeah, ours as well.
So let's talk a little bit more about the purpose and scope of the center.
Sure. So I would say that the scope is pretty broad. The college broadened that scope back in 2016, and we actually changed our name to the Center for Social Justice and Human Understanding at that time. And I would say that all of the work is really anchored in Holocaust education, but we do a wide range of programs on issues of social justice. The center has, I think, a really important role on our campus or just college-wide for our students, because we serve as a landing place for our undocumented population, LGBTQ students, and others that know that there's a place that they can come, because part of our mission and what we're trying to do is create an environment at the college that is welcoming, an environment where every student at the college feels like they belong. And that I really take that role and that responsibility very seriously. So while, yes, as you said, people look at this place and they say it's a Holocaust museum, it's true, the center is a Holocaust museum, but that's only a very small part of the work that we're doing, and really using the stories of the Holocaust to talk about much broader issues.
It's true. And people ask us all the time, why are we still talking about the Holocaust? It was 80 years ago. Well, because it's really a perfect example of how low society can descend.
Yeah. And also the real danger of apathy.
Correct. Yeah. Apathy, And the silent majority, which is approximately 80 to 85% of society, really do nothing when these things happen. Right now, today, there are genocides going on in Africa, in China, in all parts of the world. And for the most part, people are pretty silent about it. They don't even know it exists. But it's out there. The news and the information is out there for sure. Holocaust education is used as a foundation for human rights and moral courage. And we hope to instill and foster empathy in young people. Do you find that to be easy to foster empathy in young people by telling these stories? And how do you go about doing that?
Well, I think that there's a couple of ways. When we have high school visits come in, number one thing I would say is using survivor testimony. We do have a collection of testimonies that we collected a number of years back. We had a couple of hours of testimony from each of 5 survivors that we worked very closely with. And I think that using those stories and helping students to see themselves in other people's stories, I think is really effective. I also try to humanize the museum, humanize these stories, humanize the experience. I think when students hear 6 million people were murdered, you can't understand what that is. We actually have a book that is called Every Single One Was Someone. Every single page of the book, and it's a very thick book, it's probably about this thick.
Right.
And every page in the book has only one word written over and over.
We happen to have that book right here.
Yeah, yeah. I find
it's mind-blowing, right?
It's unbelievable. And when I show that to students, I show them a collage of pictures that we have of Jewish people before the war. And I encourage them to come up and look at the photographs. I don't know anything about the people that are in the photographs. They were just donated to us in a shoebox. They came to me and somebody said, "Do you want these?" And I said, "Okay." So we framed them. We created this collage. And I encourage students to look at the photographs because what I tell them is, I promise you, every single one of you has a photograph that looks exactly like one of these.
Very good.
And then I show them the book.
Right.
And you hear every single time a gasp, somebody that says they get the chills. It's very effective.
It is.
And then, like I said, sharing survivor stories, I think matters. And again, just like I was saying about my responsibility in this work, that's a big part of what I want to do is always share the stories that I was told from the survivors who we worked closely with, and to keep that alive. So I do think that when you get on that level with students, that yes, they are compassionate. I do.
And also we try to reinforce critical thinking as well. Sure. That's important too. And I use graphics, visuals also, and mental graphics when I describe how many children, Jewish children, were killed, murdered, which is a quarter of the 6 million. 1.5 million children were killed. And over here in Long Island, that's the entire population of Suffolk County. I said, just wrap your head around this. The entire population of Suffolk County is 1.5 million children.
Yes.
That's how many were killed, not by accident, not collateral damage, but intentionally killed. And it's a shocker to think that people could do these things.
Absolutely.
Because we're all related, really. It's how do we treat each other? We live on a tiny little planet floating in the middle of the universe, and this is the best that we could do. We can certainly do a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, at the end of the day, we're all more alike than we are different, right?
Absolutely.
I bring students at the beginning of tours through the definition of genocide. And just speaking to that point about the children, I get to the last item that defines what is genocide. And it's the forcibly removing the children of one group to another. And I always make the point, it's the only thing that the Germans didn't do, right? Because they opted to kill 1.5 million children instead.
Absolutely. And these are ordinary people like you and I who are convinced, lied, manipulated, coerced to do awful things. I find that students here get emotional and it triggers or inspires activism because they want to get involved. They want to do something. And we don't want it to wane over time. We want to encourage them and to do something. How do you follow up with that in terms of students becoming upstanders, doing good things for others, doing kind acts.
Yeah, I would say, for our high school students, the follow-up is challenging because I don't know that we're always going to get to see them again, right? They come to us,
Right.
say, for Unity Day
Same here.
program,
Sure.
and then they're going off into the world, right? So what we try to do is equip the educators that bring their students to go back to their schools and know the resources that they have, understand, always sending them home with some kind of action item. What is the thing that they can bring back to their school to do, which I'm sure is similar to the work that you're doing here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we have, as adults, civic responsibilities, but we want to pass it on to young people. Today is election day of all days.
Yes, it is.
Today, there's a very important civic responsibility, and that is to vote.
Yeah.
That is our right. That is
Duty.
That is our duty. Absolutely, civic duty to vote. And I did this morning, and I hope that young people really think about who they're voting for and what the outcomes will be for everybody, and keep everybody in mind, not just their own needs.
Sure.
Do you talk about that at all in terms of what happened
Absolutely.
in the 1930s with the Nazi Party, the National Socialist Party, that took them 12 years to convince ordinary Germans to follow their extreme ideology?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We talk about that both in the tours that we do and then also in the classes that I teach. This is a really important point to stress. And I think trying, especially for our college-age population, having those conversations is very interesting right now, because I think there's a level of disengagement, disillusionment with the system. And many of them are sitting in my classroom for the first time today, eligible to vote. And I don't always feel that they see the duty, the responsibility. I think sometimes they don't always feel that they're represented. I think that sometimes they just really are, there's a real disconnect between that age group and the government. So my role there is to try to, inspire them that way. You have a voice, and you need to use it, right? You need to get out and like you said, thinking about not only what you want, but what about all of the rest of the people that are in our communities? You're making a choice for them as well. So yes, the dangers of 1930s, and of course then talking about the world's reaction to those elections and that time in Germany. So yes.
That's why it's so important to learn about history, because
yes.
history does repeat itself, and it's always repeating itself. And the thing is to learn from the past. We keep saying that, but we don't learn from the past.
Yes, I'm teaching modern American history this semester, and yes, history repeats itself.
If history didn't repeat itself, we wouldn't have any wars anymore.
Yeah.
Because we would learn what leads up to a war, what leads up to hatred. Words, right? It all starts from words, ideas, words that can lead to hatred and then violence. And in the wrong hands, it could be sanctioned by a government.
Yeah.
Since the Holocaust, about 50 million people have been killed in genocides throughout history in the last 80 years.
Right.
So obviously,
So what have we learned? Yeah.
Yeah, we've learned that we can kill better, faster, more efficiently. That's what we learned. I call it hardening of the attitudes, because the attitudes are the same, but the technology has gotten certainly better.
Yeah.
Especially with propaganda, the spread of propaganda. It took Hitler and his National Socialist Party 12 years to convince Germans to vote them into the parliament. But today it can take minutes to sway people's opinions.
Sure. And then you have the algorithms that are all reinforcing what people think.
Whoever invented algorithms should be put in jail, because, first of all, it's annoying to some degree. Sometimes I'll say something and all of a sudden...
Yeah, it appears.
It appears...
Magic.
It's on sale. All of a sudden it's on sale. So it's pretty incredible. But what's worse than that is that if somebody clicks on some sort of a meme that might be aggressive towards another group, it could be even microaggressive, they'll get a lot more of those,
Sure.
and then they'll start to believe it. You know,
Sure.
it's the old adage, you know, throw enough lies at somebody, they'll start to believe it.
Yeah, and I think the name of the book is The Chaos Machine. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's about social media and how drastically it's changing our world. But part of the story is, you know, you click on one thing that's a little bit, I don't know, politically, or maybe not, a conspiracy theory.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it will start to feed you more conspiracy theories, things
Right.
that maybe you've never even heard about. So it's very easy to get trapped in that machine. And it's a very, very
It
dangerous
is.
one.
I mean, the algorithms really are not based on morality. What's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad for society. It's just what is.
Yeah.
You know, you click on something just out of curiosity. And then you start believing. And some of these conspiracies that I hear and read, thank God I don't get too much of that.
Yeah.
It's just because I reject them, are just outrageous. Maybe there's some room and space for some collaboration.
I hope so.
I think, yeah, me too. And I think that it's important that we all collaborate together to push back, because it takes a village to move the needle. It really does. And the needle has gone all the way to one side.
Yeah.
And it's very frightening. My parents both were Holocaust survivors. They're not around anymore. If they were alive today, I think they'd be mortified to think that their children and grandchildren would have to deal with this right now. They thought that was the end of it. Like nobody would ever do anything like this again. It's not that there's a Holocaust at the moment, but these are the signs of how the Holocaust began. I mean, it is really a page taken right out of the 1930s, the hatred, the level of anti-Semitism that exists today. But it's not just anti-Semitism. There's, of course, hatred for just about everybody, right? By anybody. And it just doesn't belong here anymore. How do we change the direction of society to stop hatred altogether? It just doesn't make sense. It's not congruent with how advanced we are as a society. We can launch rockets. We can do incredible things with science and technology, and yet we're still throwing rocks and stones at each other.
Yeah, and I think that's a big question, right? How do you reconcile all of this progress with, you know, how we treat each other at the end of the day? Like, what good is any of it? I would say that, you know, my hope is in young people.
Right.
I think that's where it always is, right? We always hope that through education and through programs like our organizations offer, that we're going to inspire the next generation, or the next generation is just going to want to do things so different, right? Because you said the needle is all the way to one side right now. Well, what history tells us is that that needle is always moving, right? And it will come back. It will come back, right? So
it will.
It will.
The pendulum always
It's
swings
just
the other way.
It's always swinging.
But it's up to us right now. We're not going to just
move
sit
it.
back
And it's not going to move
and
on
be
its own.
apathetic, right? We have to do something.
100%. Like we have to move it. I tell my students that all the time. The beginning of the semester, I say I'm going to say 100 times that the pendulum is always swinging. Where is it in any given time? But you also have to be moving it, right? We have to move it, and that's our job. That's our role
Look,
here.
they were moved by others in that direction. Now it's going to take. It's our responsibility to move it back.
Yeah,
that's all.
Yeah. And I also think that these young people, like I mentioned, students that are in my classroom that are just eligible to vote right now today for the very first time, they don't know a political world unlike the one that we're in. They know nothing else.
It's true.
And so what I hope is that they want what we want. They envision the world that we want, a world of peace, a world of acceptance, a world where people want to look out for each other and lift each other up. I hope that that's what they want. And they are going to be the change makers, I hope.
We have to at least inspire that in them, that there is hope, first of all. At the end of a tour that we give here to students, we reflect back on what they learned, the lessons that they learned about the results of remaining silent, not acting on these injustices, seeing the signs, critically thinking about leadership and leaders around them and what their platforms are and what the results are. But learning about the history, because if you learn the history, we learn this is a formula. It's like mathematics. This plus this equals that. So If you learn the formula, you get the basic concept of what can possibly happen in society. Today is a perfect day to talk about it because this is what's happening today. Today we're voting this plus that, right? Right? A citizen, a civic duty plus election equals this. So let's see what happens at the end of today. And hopefully it's for the better. I try to inspire, and the docents here try to inspire young people to do better, to reach higher for themselves, reach higher for society. That there is potentially a better world for all of us. It's not a bad world. A lot of what we hear is in the news and on our phones, but day to day, you really don't feel much of it. You know, you go to the deli, you pick up your sandwich, you go to work, you're having a nice conversation with your friends. It's not like we're miserable all the time, but the dangers are out there. It's like we live in a forest and there's dangers out there and we have to be careful. They're lurking.
Yeah, absolutely. And the flip side of that, I think there's also a lot of good people.
There are a lot of good people.
There's a lot of good people that want to do good. And talking about how we finish our tours, that's one of the ways that I finish mine, is talking about the people that resisted, people that did good things, people that intervened, and people that did not have platforms. Of course, thinking about people like Sir Nicholas Winton or others like him who did not have money, did not have Twitter or TikTok or anything to promote, but just wanted to do something good for humanity, so that there was something wrong with the world around them and wanted to stand up to change that. So I think as much as there is bad, there is negativity, there are people that are that want to do harm to people in this country. There are also good people that are fighting against that.
Thank God it's a very small percentage of society that, are extreme like that, but they do influence others. When I describe them, I explain to young people that it's like the spread of cancer. You have billions and trillions of cells in your body, and they're generally all healthy, but all it takes is one cancer cell to radicalize the cells around it, and then as a mob, they attack the body. And that can happen because we see it not just in Nazi Germany, but all around the world.
Of course.
And it's happening today. So this was a wonderful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to talk with you.
I'm looking forward to collaborating with you.
I am too.
On a professional level. And we have a new friend here at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center, Jill Santiago. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today here on HMTV. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Ordinary Heroes. Jill, is not just an ordinary hero. She's extraordinary, and she's doing some great things here in our community. If you enjoyed exploring the information, history, and stories in today's conversation, be sure to check out our other podcasts here on HMTV. Please subscribe, share, and stay connected for more engaging conversations. Until next time.